This year marks my 20th year here at the state capitol. 12 years as a member, 5 years back in 1980, 1985 as a lobbyist for ONG, first lobbyist for them. Now it's One Oak and One Gas. 3 years here as a reporter for the old WKY-TV. Back in the 70s, we would have 30 reporters out here every day. All 3 TV stations sent 2 reporters out here, one to cover the House, one to cover the Senate. I got to cover the House. It was much more fun. Print and wire reporters were located over here on a table on the north side of the dais. Radio reporters were up in the gallery. I actually have a photograph here that many of you have seen showing me over here on the south side of the dais. And since WKY-TV was the first station, started in 1949, we had the first outlet in the wall for the sound. And so we were right over here in front of Representatives Condit and Kennedy, where they were seated here. Representative Don Duke, who Pat Ombie knew, Representative Don Duke from Ardmore sat where Donnie sits today. His seatmate was an older gentleman in his 80s who slept most of the day. And it was not unusual for Representative Duke to be called off the floor. And when that happened, he would punch me on the shoulder and say, "Vote me aye on this next one." And I would do it. And I believe that I may well be the only elected state representative in history who had voted several times before I was actually elected. Back then, we had mercury vapor lights up here. The windows were covered up, so it would be pitch black in this chamber before the lights were turned on. And it would take about an hour for the lighting to reach its maximum illumination. It was during this time that I met the love of my life, Cheryl Satterley, who's up here in the gallery. Babe, stand up. It was only after I got married that I realized for the first time in my life that I was going to have to make a living, and I left journalism. I remember telling Cheryl back then, I've got the best job in the world. I get to go to the circus every day. I also told her that I would like to return someday as a member, and I got that opportunity in 2006. Those of us who serve here know that this job has an impact on the family. And when we serve, our families serve as well. Last week on April 24, Cheryl and I celebrated our 42nd wedding anniversary. Those of you with young families serve at a sacrifice. It can be very difficult. You limit your ability to make a living. If you stay 12 years, it becomes an even greater sacrifice. You limit your opportunities in the real world. Unfortunately, the people are pretty much oblivious about that. They don't appreciate that reality. That's why serving in retirement is the easiest time to serve, and yet we do need that vibrancy of younger members. This has been a public service time for me, for my life. It's been a pleasure. I'm grateful to the good people of House District 79 for sending me here. And so, as I leave this wonderful place, I want to bore you with a memory. And I relate it because it reflects the earlier day, and it also reflects some things that I believe could improve the atmosphere that I have experienced here for the past 12 years. One day back in the 70s, Senator Gene Stipe from McAllister took control of a workers' comp reform bill. It was a reform bill that had been carefully worked on for over a year by Senator Ed Barong, who Harold knows or knew, a very conservative Democrat from Weatherford. Senator Stipe was a master of the rules, and he got control of Senator Barong's bill. Reporters back then referred to such action as being stiped. Suddenly, we were having a news conference in the broadcast newsroom with Senator Stipe, who was going to explain how this bill was going to change. The TV lights were on. We had film back in those days, so we had to have TV lights. The door was shut. Senator Stipe, a trial lawyer by trade, was seated at a table in the front of the room, beginning to pontificate about his new workers' comp bill. And all of a sudden there was a pounding on the door. And slowly it swung open, and Denny Garrison, formerly the Republican minority leader of the House and of the state Senate, pushes into the middle of the room one of our criminal appeals court justices who had been confined to a wheelchair. Senator Stipe was stopped in his tracks, and Denny, a Republican who at the time was the legislative liaison for Democratic Governor David Boren. Confidently, Denny says, "Senator Stipe, I've got you another workers' comp case." Now, the 30 members of the media roared with laughter, and no one in the room laughed longer and louder than Gene Stipe. That incident never appeared in print, nor was it broadcast. There was a camaraderie that existed among members of the press and the legislators. There was respect. The only way legislators had to get their stories out was through the working media. Both legislators and reporters never forgot the responsibility that they had in their particular jobs. A practical joke was not a news story. Gene Stipe and Denny Garrison, a Democrat and a Republican, were friends, even though they came from different parties, different ideologies. It was never personal with them. I might add that Earl Sears and Representative Dunlap both knew Denny Garrison. He was the godfather of the GOP in Bartlesville, and you both had to go kiss his ring before you could actually run for office. But that's where I first learned about politics and governing. Today, we do politics very, very well, and too often we come up short on governing. Governing involves both parties. I love what Governor Henry Bellman used to say. He served 2 terms as governor in the 60s, also in the 80s, both times with a Democratic legislative majority. He would always say, "The election is over. It's time to govern." He made as many Republicans mad as he made Democrats mad. And it was this experience that taught me to never allow the party or ideology to become my master. It might be my vehicle, but never my master. Sometimes a bill takes more than one session, sometimes years, sometimes someone else gets all the credit. Learn to be patient, work with others, respect others. I do worry about the divisiveness that exists in our policy world today. It's not just here in Oklahoma, it's nationwide. But I am encouraged by this freshman class. I wish my time with this class would be longer. I see in both parties a willingness to work together, and that's encouraging. There's nothing more arrogant than a freshman legislator, unless it's a termed member who knows everything. Or even worse, a state senator who believes he or she will be the next governor. Representative McIntyre has asked me to come back next year as his legislative assistant. I do appreciate the offer. I see he's not back there, but I do appreciate the offer, but I believe I'll pass on that one. Representative Rhonda Baker was real sweet when she listened to some of my stories earlier in the year and told me that I ought to write a book. And I told her that I do plan to do so, but a few more people are going to have to die first. Some are in this room. Bobby Cleveland accused me the other day of having symptoms of Alzheimer's. But I realize, Bobby, that my memory, unlike you, is getting better every day. And in fact, it is so good that I am now remembering things that never happened. Another freshman, Melody Blansett, has impressed me with her independence. She may take the place of my dear friend, former member Jeannie McDaniel, who served as the conscience of the House. Last year, Representative Colin Walkie and I got acquainted. Remember that, Colin? We spent about 4 or 5 hours together going down to attend an event at the University of Oklahoma. And he's not nearly as nutty as he sounds on this floor. He's actually got some good ideas. And if you don't believe it, get acquainted with him. And I noticed that earlier in the year, Representative Fettgetter moved from deep within the Republican section over here just so he could be a little closer to Representative Walkie. I did appreciate that, Scott. That's really great. A note to the freshmen. You have been given a difficult but a great opportunity, as has the sophomore class. Our revenue failures have given you the chance to see the guts of the state budget. Thanks to leadership, including appropriation leaders like Earl Sears, Dennis Casey, Kevin Wallace, Leslie Osborne, members have had more opportunity to be part of the budget process. Don't let that stop as you move into the future. I'd like to ask the members of the 2006 class if you'd stand for a moment here. I just want to recognize all of you. I don't want to call names, take a lot of time. But Representative Enns, right here. Once we leave, whatever legacy we may have will go only with those we have served with. Those who follow us will quickly forget our names and what we may consider our legacy. I love all of you guys, and it's been a delight and a pleasure to serve with each and every one of you, and I'll never forget you as long as I live. You may be seated. You will never see me on Facebook, but I do have all your cell phones. And I don't want to leave here without acknowledging 12 years with Frankie Lou Reeves, my legislative assistant. Frankie Lou, stand up here. This is her 30th year here at the Capitol. And her legacy will be her cakes and her cookies and all the sweets that she's brought to all of us over the years, and the great help and assistance that she's brought to our caucus lunches and the full house lunches that we have had. She knows how to do that without fanfare, without recognition. Earl Sears has consistently requested her Italian cream cake. In fact, she made one for old Earl and all the rest of us just this last Tuesday. Frankie Lou was a session-only assistant, and during the interim, at different times, Celia Scott and Patty Munsney was my assistants. Patty, stand up and wave. These guys have been wonderful and did a tremendous, tremendous job for me, and I couldn't have done what I have been able to achieve here without them. I also must acknowledge my good friends on this dais and other staff members and support personnel. The Green Jackets, I've already been talking to Dennis, told him I got a green jacket. I may be available. Now that we don't have to open the door for members, I think I might be able to do that. They are the B team. By B team, I mean they be here before we got here, and they be here after we are gone. They make it possible for us to do everything that we do, and we are very fortunate to have them. I have never entered this building without a sense of awe, recognizing that what we do here has a great impact on the future of Oklahoma. And there is always an awareness that anything we do is not necessarily chiseled into granite. It can always be changed next year. It's an awesome responsibility. It has been a privilege to serve with each and every one of you, and I wish you well.